Hello, it is 10 a.m. on Friday, August 14th. I'm Patricia Morris. I'm your Stillwater Central School District Superintendent of Schools, and this is the second of a district-wide town hall forum for you to ask your live questions in real time regarding reopening our schools in the fall. If you have an opportunity, and I won't do this today, there are two other videos posted on the website that does an overview of our process, our planning, how we got here, when we started this process and planning, what more we have to do. Every day is different, so we continue to plan, assess, reassess, revise on a daily basis. We have wonderful teams of folks working on these plans to ensure the best transition for our students back to school, because that is ultimately everyone's goal. With the two main guiding principles that we focused on since the start, to provide a safe place to work and learn, and to ensure that we can transport, educate, and feed our children. And so one of the questions that has been brought to the forefront throughout this process has been, well, why does your plan look different from other plans? And really, plans are so unique to the districts that they're in. The number of students, the spaces available, the philosophy behind having time with one-to-one in-person time with students. So all of that went into the planning, and again has been reassessed and revised. And we are very confident as an administrative team and the teams of folks that have worked toward this to be able to present to you a plan that we know that is a feasible plan, and one that we can ensure that we are socially distancing students, being safe and responsible, while at the same time providing them with a rich education. So thank you for your flexibility and your understanding and patience in this planning process. There's still more to come. You may have questions for me that I can't answer, and I will get those answered for you. We continue daily to work on all of those finer points and details about what that will look like. So in addition to this opportunity to ask questions live, and you have an opportunity to email me or anyone on our admin team at reopening@scsd.org. If you, it's reopening@scsd.org. If you'd like, that's also on our website, on our reopening page, and it also has a list there of other opportunities to ask your questions in real time. Each session will be recorded for you, but on Thursday, August 20th, at 10 a.m., our middle school principal, Mr. Timothy Houlihan, will be running a middle school session for you. At 1 p.m., our high school principal, Dr. Mike Johnson, will be running a high school session for you to ask your questions. And at 6 p.m., Mrs. Tolman will have a second session. She had a session yesterday because she had some questions pertaining to the day in the life of an elementary student during a hybrid plan. And so she wanted to ensure, she had so many questions, she wanted to ensure that people had as much information as possible to make a sound educational decision for your students. And that's what we are asking you to do. We have a survey out to parents. We've asked that you complete that survey for every student who lives in your household. So you submit and you start the survey again. It's really just 4 questions, 3 questions actually. It's one question regarding high-speed internet, and then if you have it or if you don't. The second question is, are you opting for a fully remote experience, or will you be sending your students for the hybrid learning experience? And your answer to that question will either drive a transportation question if you're sending your student, or a lunch question if you would like, a lunch and breakfast question if you'd like meals for your students, even if you opt for fully remote. So it's 3 questions. It's quick. I think more time it goes into the decision that you're making. We have 152 students to account for, and we'll have 100% participation. So if you haven't done that survey and you're waiting to hear from me and you have a question or two, go ahead and ask them, and then we'd be very appreciative if you get those surveys. And that information drives what our bus routes look like, how we're going to provide meals remotely for remote students, and certainly our academic process. So please do that. Go ahead and do that. There are other videos on the website. So last night's videos that Mrs. Tolman did at 4:30 yesterday afternoon is available for you to view. My 6 p.m. video is also there, and they are on the website. So if you need additional information, there are many ways that you can ask questions right now. You can ask questions through our reopening at scsd.org portal, the email address, and you'll get an answer back. And I see that I have 2 screens going, so I can look at the questions that are coming in. So the first question that came in is, what will the elementary classrooms look like, and how is social distancing in place in them? Mrs. Tolman answered that. That's a great question. You want to see what the space looks like. Does it look like a normal classroom? We have really strived to make that experience for our kids as real and normal as possible. So the classrooms will have between 12 and 14 students, certainly depending on the space. So and the space that allows for social distancing of desks. And those spaces, those desks are being measured, and the spaces are being used in that to that capacity, depending on the number of students in the classroom. What do they look like? Well, right now we aren't set up yet, but when we are able to, we will be able to take pictures of those spaces. We are sure that teachers will want to share with you what their spaces look like, and we are getting there, so you'll be able to see that. I hope that answers your question. Will there be plexiglass used at all in this school setup? Well, we have New York State Ed approved glass, so it's not plexiglass. New York State approved a different type of barrier, and there will be some we did order some of those barriers, and certainly so they may be found in offices, certainly in our providers' offices. If there's speech, OT, they can certainly utilize those. Our psychologists will have them. And then if teachers are requesting them for them in their classrooms at their desk, so that as a student approaches, we certainly will have those on hand if necessary and if requested. What cleaning measures will take place daily? Will you use UV lights and fog machines for sanitation? Well, interestingly, we actually purchased those disinfecting fog machines way back in February when COVID was hitting, but we didn't know what we were in for, right? We purchased them because we had a pneumonia outbreak, the flu outbreak in the elementary school. And so as we saw our numbers climb, we engaged with a company and purchased those foggers for disinfecting. So we've had those. We've purchased more. We have them for our buses. There's a stringent cleaning and disinfecting schedule that we will be following. There is an appendix to our district plan on our website, and that is, I believe, Appendix 2. You can find it quickly, though, with our cleaning and disinfecting protocols, all aligned to the CDC guidelines. And so there are high touch surfaces that will be cleaned multiple times daily, such as your bathrooms and the cafeteria tables, desktops. There's time allowed at the middle high when spaces are being utilized by a different group of students that will be that you'll be able to see that those spaces are high touch surfaces. So and will UV lights be used? UV lights are being used for the Chromebooks at this time, and that's where we're using those to clean them. If your child is doing virtual learning, will there be a time to pick up any books or materials they will need? That's a great question, and one that your principals will certainly arrange. So there's a lot of information still coming out, right? Because you need your schedules. Those schedules will be driven by our survey results. So yes, there will be an opportunity to pick up the materials that they need, much like we did in the spring with that routine scheduled time for pickup, and the ability for you to get whatever you need to attend those classes. How do virtual students complete the lab portion of their science classes? I had that very same question as a parent of a college student who is a science major. So New York State Ed has allowed some flexibility with the sciences, but so there is that virtual lab experience that will be part of it. Certainly there are hands-on opportunities, and it will be a hybrid they're in of what the lab experience will look like. Certainly, we want everyone back in school and being able to have those experiences. But labs will continue, and we will be able to do them in a safe environment. So they will be, socially distanced if in person, and if they're virtual, there will be virtual experiences as well. I have to say, thank goodness for technology. Where would we have been 20, 30 years ago if we were doing this very same, if we were in this very same situation? What will the curriculum look like if my student does full-time virtual learning? Our district certainly supports and as mandated the New York State learning standards. That doesn't change. Our curriculum and our methods have changed. Our methodology has changed in terms of instructing our students, ensuring that there's proficiency, allowing for remediation if necessary, enrichment if we, when necessary as well. So we focus on the New York State learning standards, and with the switch to remote learning swiftly in the spring, we understand there are gaps. Part of our work in the spring was to identify those priority standards for kids to make sure that when they come back in September, not knowing if they were coming back physically or not, or in our current situation, a hybrid model, that we understand from the previous grade level what was taught, what were our priority standards, what should they be bringing to the table in September, and where we might need to find those gaps and eliminate those gaps by filling them in with a further instruction in those areas. So the curriculum is New York State standards based, and continues to be. And the curriculum followed continues to be the curriculum we would follow for a fully in-person model. Approximately how many children per classroom? So in our measurements, we are approximately 12, some spaces 14 students in the elementary school. And so in first grade, that would be the number. It could be less if in splitting the classroom. And again, those survey results are so important to get them so that we know how many students we are accommodating for a fully remote model. And then we'll be able to know what those numbers exactly look like and share that with you, because certainly we want to do that. Will the playground be in use and disinfected between classes? The playground will be in use. That is a recommendation that we should be allowing for playground time. Students will be hand sanitizing in between as they go when they're using the playground equipment and coming back in off of the playground, washing their hands before lunches. But in terms of disinfecting between playground groups, at this time we're following CDC guidelines. I actually spoke to our facilities director this morning regarding this, anticipating this question, and the CDC has not put out any specific guidance on playground equipment and the frequency to disinfect. But we're looking to the CDC for that guidance, but we will have ensure that it's disinfected and sanitized. How will the school prevent younger kids from touching each other? So that's an excellent question. So we have our little guys coming in, right? And sometimes we don't give them the credit they deserve, because they really do listen to our rules and follow what the expectations are at the younger grades, and you might not think that of a group of 5-year-olds or a group of 6-year-olds, but it really is about modeling for them, teaching them that this is how we do it, and so in those very first days of school, this is how we are walking through the halls. This is how we wear our masks to be safe, what social distancing means, referencing when you go to the store with your parents and you see those marks on the floor, we have them because, and really modeling and teaching, it really is a teaching format that we will use. And we understand it's not going to be a one and done, this is what we're going to do, folks. Really, it is a daily exercise, and but it will be incorporated in the day. I really love our model because it allows for students to remove their masks and be safe in their spaces, knowing full well that they could wear them all day if you'd like them to, and they're willing to, and they feel comfortable with them. Certainly the masks are the best protection. How and when is everything clean? Again, I'm going to refer you to the appendix so there's a link to the CDC guidelines. We are following them directly. We have had students in school this summer for our extended school year program and have followed those guidelines and continue to do so. And so please go to appendix. I think it's 2 in our plan, and you can check that out. We will be cleaning those high touch surfaces. How will lunch work? So lunch is different by building, and so I'm going to defer to the principals for that, but certainly we are looking, I'll speak to the district level. We are providing a grab and go service for our lunches. Our food facilities, food service program worked all through the spring and doing a fantastic job of providing meals if you needed them. And again, survey results necessary. So if you want them again and you're going fully remote, that would be great to get that in. But we are going to start with a hot and a cool option, such as a chicken patty as one option and a turkey sandwich as a second option, fully child nutrition compliant, so that a student will be getting a full meal as per the nutritional guidelines. And from there, we will expand based on productivity and what we can do. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew, not to make a bad pun, but we certainly want to start there and then and move from there. As it works with each building and how each grade level is moving, it's going to be different. If you want to throw that question into the reopening.org email, that would be great. And then that could be answered by grade level, or you can certainly ask your building level principal, or I'll ask them to address that next week. Okay. For UPK students, there are 2 classes of AM and PM. Will they be in different classrooms, or do they share the same classroom just at different times? If so, will there be cleaning in between AM and PM classes? Yes, there will, and that's a great question. There will be cleaning in between those sessions, and they will be using the same space. So, of course, desktops, high-touch areas, doorknobs, the bathroom, all of the above. Will all students doing remote learning be given a device? We are so fortunate in Stillwater. I look at my colleagues around our region and see that not only do they not have the devices to give, yes, the answer is yes, but not only are other districts struggling with the ability to provide devices to their students and on a one-to-one level, and that's with our teachers and our students have that flexibility to have those devices, whether it's their desktop or laptop for a teacher and a Chromebook or an iPad for the elementary students. But some districts even struggle with the connectivity at 50% capacity. And I worry about those leaders, those teachers, those students, and how they're going to be able to do this. Right now, our results are coming in. We have less than 5% with connectivity issues in our district. And when we're working with those families, and we are able to provide a device for every student. Will accelerated classes continue to be in person or virtual? So again, there are in-person sessions for the accelerated courses at the middle level, and there are virtual. So it's a hybrid model at the middle school for the accelerated courses. At the high school, certainly, again, we have 1 day per week allocated for the grade levels. And so 9th grade is on Monday, 10th grade is on Tuesday, Wednesday, small group and office hours, Thursday, 11th grade, Friday, 12th grade. And then in between there, students will follow their period by period schedule to take care of their special area courses. They will log in. They may have synchronous learning for a direct Google Meet with their classroom teacher. They may have asynchronous learning with a project or some assignments that are due. Then they can connect with their teachers on that period by period schedule. That also includes our world languages. And then as we get underway, when we have periods of time where a world language teacher or an art teacher wants to meet directly with students, we'll look to see how we can accommodate that, even if it's during a virtual setting. So we're looking to see to expand as much as possible without doing so at the onset, so that we're not committing to something that we can't accomplish. I believe firmly that we've presented a plan, and we're working on a plan that can be executed, and that's because of the thought that's gone into it. In the hybrid model, will remote learning continue to be independent, or will the teacher lead online classes? So unlike the spring, where there was it was new to everyone, we've come light years in learning what works, what doesn't work, what else would we like to try, how can we use a flipped model classroom. A lot of professional development is still on the forefront for our teachers. A lot has occurred. There have been fantastic sessions through our local BOCES offered to our teachers at no charge this summer to the district, no additional charge for participants. A lot of our teachers have logged in and joined those sessions, and that will continue to be. So the answer to your question is there will be some learning lab models with so an asynchronous model, so that kind of plan where the assignments will be posted. Students will work toward the assignments. They'll be able to communicate through the Google Classroom platform with their teachers. And there will also be synchronous learning, which is that live instructional format. Different, definitely, from the spring than what was experienced in the spring. And that accountability piece is there. We're going back to our typical grading model. Our attendance will be taken through our school tool student management model. And as I referenced in our initial video on Tuesday, the district is looking at a reasonably priced application for all students, which families I think you really will love, because unlike what students experienced in the spring with multiple dozens of emails coming in, you have a new class, Google Classroom assignment, you have a new Google Classroom invite. What students will see is a platform where all of those emails and all of those assignments get filtered in by class to this one application. You'll be able to see what's due, what's overdue, communication from teachers, all with a click of a button, one specific spot. And so we're working hard to get that up and running for the start of school, if not just shortly thereafter. For those that completed the survey, can you share the percentage of in-person to remote? So certainly, at this time, let's see, I had that on my screen earlier and shut it out, so let me find that. So we've had some surveys come in the time that I've been talking, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And so our percentages, let's see, at this time, we have less than 4% without high-speed internet. We have 14.5% of students who are opting out at this time. That's a great question. I'm going to jump to the reopening our schools page. There were some district level questions that came in, and we have plenty of time for that. Continue to throw some questions into the live chat if you'd like. And just going to answer some questions. So on reopening, are students with an IEP coming in every day, or as they are, if they're in a higher grade than the elementary? So that's a great question. If a student has a self-contained classroom, or is in a self-contained classroom at the middle or high school, they will come to school every day. If a student has an IEP that has accommodations for a consultant teacher model, that student will come in and follow the schedule of that grade level. So for example, in 7th grade, 2 days per week, in person, 3 days remote, with the accommodation of having the consultant teacher working with that student to ensure that they are getting their needs met. So, so there's a combination thereof. So two different models there and two different approaches depending on the student's IEP. I have two questions here about school supply lists. That's something that the principals are working on. There's so many finer details that we're working through right now. So school supply lists are being reevaluated if with the hybrid model. because, and I know there are changes coming your way. So just hold tight on that. I know it's hard because I'll tell you what, when I was watching the Walmart commercials and we didn't know if we were coming back. It's sad, right? Like the masks are on and it's what we're living. And then Target came out with a commercial and it was, come back and get your back to school supplies. And it was probably the commercial they used last year, maybe. Prices are higher, I'm sure. But I was happy to see that. It made it seem normal, that come back and get your supplies. So that was always my favorite time with my kids, still is actually going out and buying those supplies for my college age kid. So I would just say to you, hold tight. We'll get those out as soon as possible. That'll be a priority because we know you need to get those supplies. I have a question, another question about this schedule. And that's fine because there's so much information coming at you that may get lost. If you are in the high school, your student will be coming one day per week in person for chunks of time. I don't want to use blocks because that's not a block schedule model, but it's a chunk of time with their 4 core subjects: English, social studies, math, and science. And then on the other days, they will be virtual and they will be learning. This is at the high school level with their period by period schedule, with the ability to connect with those English, social studies, math, and science teachers and work through any questions or concerns, again, through hopefully that application as soon as possible. So this question has to do with, a lot of, I love this question because it speaks to the fact that we all have different things on our plate, right? So we have some families like myself with one student in college. So I'm looking at that aspect. Most of you have students in multiple buildings. A lot of people have students in multiple buildings, juggling that with your own work lives and all of the above. So we appreciate that, and we recognize that it presents a struggle, this current situation we're in, and we don't want that for you. So the question is about, it's very specific to a UPK and then an older child needing to be with that parent while UPK drop-off is occurring. And so if then there's synchronized classes, will it be taken into account if the student is late since attendance is taken? So I think this speaks to a larger communication piece, that if there are certain circumstances that we can assist you with, and that's is applicable to you, reach out to your teacher. Start with the teacher. Let the teacher know that at this time, Johnny is riding with me. He has to be with me. That's how we, I don't leave him alone. He's 6. I don't leave him alone for his younger sibling, or he's 12 or whatever age he is. And so he'll be riding with me. I'll get him home. I'll get him logged in, but he's going to be late. If you make that initial communication, we can work with that. You can reach out to your teacher first, reach out to your building level principal. We'll figure out what works best for you, because again, I'll say everyone's in a different situation, and we recognize that. If you are talking in your groups, push that survey. We're at 885 out of 1,000. 888. 3 more have come in. 888 out of 1,029. We will be making phone calls to families. We need those numbers. And I've said since last week, we need that 100% participation, because then we will know specifically what we can do and how we can run our bus routes and even traffic in our hallways. Everything really is contingent upon this. So you might say, well, why did the survey come out so late? Well, that target has been moving for us. It moves daily. So we weren't sure if school was opening. We certainly needed to plan forward. We needed to develop that survey that was comprehensive and gave you the options. If A, then B. What about high-speed internet? We wanted it to be information we could use, and we wanted to give you a few days to answer them. But if we gave you until late next week, it puts that much more difficulty in figuring out those routes. And so if you have any additional questions that you need answered And before you can make that decision, please reach out to the reopening@scsd.org email, and we will get back to you so that we can get your questions answered. It is 10:30. I'll give it another minute or so. If you have a question, throw it my way. I hope you have a great weekend. The weather's been nice, and I hope you've been able to spend time with your family and friends, socially distanced, of course, so that you can kind of have some normalcy. I think I find for myself, my normalcy is when I'm sitting at the table with my family and enjoying dinner, because that to me is something that makes me feel at home and comfortable and safe. So I enjoy that time. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure serving the district and the community of Stillwater. Have a great day.